welcome to my channel, you guys. This is Mando Predator. If you haven't already and stuff while watching this video, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. I do awesome content, movie, TV show talks, gaming, reaction videos, and other sorts of stuff. Before we get to this video, I just want to tell you guys that I just reached to 900 subscribers on this channel, you guys. I just want to say thank you all who've been watching my videos, who's been waiting patiently for new posts and commenting and everything. I just want to say thank you for all the appreciations and stuff. So today's video, we're still going to be looking at our last bonus feature set of Alien Special Edition, and it's going to be the interview. It is the interview with James Cameron. So it's like a footage with the interview about the movie and him directing this and stuff. So we're going to react to it and stuff. So let's get to it. So guys, just put in my special edition DVD Aliens, and here's the interview with James Cameron. This says Don Slay of Cinefex magazine conducted the following interview in the summer of 1986. So that's when the movie came out. James Cameron discusses his approach to the writing and directing of Aliens. So let's check it out, guys.
I think that for all the negatives involved in making a sequel, you have positives. And one of the positives is if you can take that initial programming that the audience has from the other film and then do little twists and turns on it and like you said, play against their expectation of what's going to happen. If it's done in a not hostile way to the audience, then they realize that there's a little bit of fun involved, and that the film is having a little bit of fun with them, but it makes them participants. It shows that the filmmakers assume a certain knowledge.
He's got a point on the part with the sequel parts and how they made the films and everything. I see his point on that.
On their part. What I tried to do within Aliens, with the various scenes that you mentioned, is make the scenes so that they functioned if you had never seen the first film. They didn't seem like something coming out of nowhere if you hadn't seen the first movie, but so that they had a second level resonance for the people that had seen the first film. I think it goes back to that idea of the film being more of a participation experience as opposed to a passive experience, and that's one of the great advantages of doing a sequel, if you can pull it off.
Presumably one of the major problems is coming up with an explanation of why Ripley would go back in the first place. And this you got around by establishing the whole military motif, and they're going back because they're going to kick ass, basically.
If you think about it, from a story stand.
Like, to tell you the truth, when I first got into Aliens, all I remember the first thing that got me into the Aliens was like, I remember seeing these trailers on Amazon Prime, and then this one was like, wow, I look at these like color like art posters like on these DVD copies, and I was like, I want to watch these movies because these movies look amazing to watch. And yeah.
Point. How is the audience going to relate to this person if they put themselves needlessly into jeopardy again, when any sensible thinking person would not go back to anywhere near the damn alien if they had a choice? So I tried to approach that from a number of different questions. I mean, one way of doing it would have had her ship drift back to the planet and she's back there. I mean, that's not what the story was about. But I mean, I think there's a couple of things going on. Sure, they offer her a job, but that's not a good enough reason. They offer to protect her,
Got the point on how that's the idea for the Marines to protect Ripley and others, but she can face that fear back when she rescues them.
That helps. They're going to give her a bunch of Marines, and so she feels relatively secure in going back. But the real reason is the cathartic psychological reason. There has to be an inner motivation that even if people don't understand it, I mean, even if people disagree with it and say, well, that wouldn't be enough for me, they at least can see a motivation for her to do that. In a way, it goes back to this kind of combat experience that people who've been in high-stress situations undergo. And it's a fairly well-understood bit of human psychology, which is when you come that close to death, whatever it is, if it's a car accident or whether you're in combat.
Loved how he's explained the Ripley care, how they base it off in reality with people and stuff. That's just he's explained pretty well.
You tend to fixate on that moment in your life and just relive it over and over. And what showed up in Vietnam was that people who were there for a year would go back, even though it was the worst thing that ever happened to them.
Ron Cobb, who of course is one of your principal designers on the film, said that in the early stages you were very consciously making a Vietnam War movie in outer space.
Yeah, Vietnam in space. That's like how George Lucas with the idea for like Star Wars, like cowboys, samurais and stuff for like that. But like this is just, and then they did like with these Vietnam sort of the Rebel Alliance. They're like the Vietnamese or something, and so in the Empire, like the bad guys and stuff. Like that's the thing I like about these movies, how they explain from like film and reality back then.
As an element, but to me, the whole Vietnam experience was almost science fictional, in the sense that it was the first real high-tech war that was waged against an extremely low-tech enemy and lost, which to me is a very strange thing. It showed how technology didn't work, and there's an aspect of that in this film. It's like, why are we losing?
One of the problems that must have hit you at the beginning of this project was on Alien. They spent all this time and effort and trouble and money developing one alien.
Yes. And it's just a guy in a suit, but it still looked pretty cool. Tell you the truth, it's kind of cool. It's just a guy in the suit of the alien and the xenomorph part.
Movie with a whole planet full of them.
Right, hundreds.
I presume there must have been some concern on your part that you were going to be able to, or get somebody who could pull that off.
Yeah, there was a lot of concern in that regard. In fact, the studio was very, very leery that we could pull it off, and I promised them on a stack of Bibles, so to speak, that I would do it all with 6 suits, and we did. I mean, there are only 6 in one shot at one time. It's only editorially that you believe you're seeing more than that, because they just keep coming at you from different angles. It's the same 6 guys, you know.
The Western where they had 6 cows. Huh?
You got it. You know, I mean, Roger Corman once said that he'd filmed the fall of the Roman Empire with 5 extras in a bush.
Oh,
you know?
wow!
I believe he did it too. I never saw the movie, but
Roman Empire.
Anyway, that was the principle. But the point is that it does take all your every ounce of skill of your skill, meaning my skill as the director and the people working for me, the cameraman and the special effects people and so on, to make those very quick cuts count as much as possible, make them as believable as possible. And also, what I tried to do was make the aliens interesting from a dynamic standpoint, and the way they moved. We did a lot of experimentation with.
That's like how like you play the Aliens Fireteam Elite video game and stuff, and like Colonial Marines, like how he's designed, because it kind of makes more sense now. Like the aliens are actually why they're called Xenomorph warriors in this movie. How they can actually like come at you with a swarm of them and that's like the thing I like about it, and how they're like puppets and guys in suits for it and dummies, which just looked realistic.
Different ways of moving them, you know, hanging them on wires and shooting them at different speeds and turning sets upside down and sideways and you know, turning the camera upside down.
I've seen like behind the scenes of this, like that would explain the part where Hicks was looking up and the Xenomorphs were crawling upside down. But they were actually crawling forward on the set, and they just switched to look like they're crawling upside down. And
just every trick in the book to give them this weird sort of dynamic, unhuman type of motion. And you know, I mean, I think that you're basically just being bombarded with so much imagery that it's you have to just kind of give up and say, all right, fine, they're aliens. You know, yeah. They're not guys in suits. Yeah. Well, once again, I went more for motion as opposed to design. We kept the design more or less the same as what H.R. Giger designed for the one alien that they had in Alien, the full-sized adult version, of which we had many. We spent most of our R&D time on motion, because I thought that quick blurring lizard-like or insect-like leap was more important than the physical sculptural design of the suit. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of makeup and prosthetics people make when they're dealing with this sort of thing, is that they
Sometimes when they make a mistake and stuff, when they actually see in the film, you won't clearly like actually see it when you watch the movie. But sometimes when you see them make it, you kind of see how bad it is. But get a point on that.
They lavish all their attention on the sculptural detail, the surface texture, etc. of the suit, and they fail to realize that people need very few pixels of information to identify a human figure, and most of that identification is through motion. You know, the way we walk. The way we walk is so ingrained in us mentally that you can see it just like that. So it was, what we did was we actually redesigned the suit and made it simpler and less sophisticated, and basically freed it so that it was
Makes
much more
sense,
flexible.
like, yeah.
And then we found people to be inside the suits who were gymnasts and acrobats and that sort of thing. And then we hung them on wire.
Yeah, but acrobats back then used for these like films like that were just pretty amazing. Like they talent perform. They're like really amazing for the film.
And had them act like lizards.
Look at that right there.
It was a study in motion and in human motion. But also there's another form beyond those sort of smaller aliens, which we called the warriors, in the sense of like warrior ants. There's another form, which is the alien.
Because it makes sense now with the Xenor's were based off like bugs, making an alien queen, because ants and bees have a queen sometimes. They lay the eggs, and they usually have like the normal ants or bees to spread the eggs out when they're born, and then like the bees create like a hive, like a beehive and stuff to make honey and stuff. Like it does make a lot more sense how they're all based from like these movies for the like alien, for these creatures and stuff.
Queen, which was a completely unhuman silhouette and unhuman geometry. It was definitively not a suit, and I think that and that's what we show more clearly.
That's pretty
the
cool.
Queen dramatically is a trump card for you. It's the way for you to give another ending to your movie in a way, and I presume was also a primary motivator, was that you wanted to present something that hadn't been done before in the first movie. You had the face huggers and the chest bursters and the warriors were all kind of leftover elements from the first one.
The Queen was an opportunity to take a design stance that was beyond the first film, completely new territory, create a new organism, basically. And when we see the Queen on her sort of biomechanoid throne with the egg sac and all that, we understand intuitively what she is. I think we see where the eggs come from. We see her relationship with it and all that, and then we get to take her out of that environment and have her do other things as well. I had an image of what I wanted this thing to look like.
And while he's saying about those concept arts, I actually seen his concept. You guys have seen his concept. You guys look at them online. How he designed like the Queen. What would she look like with the abdomen, without the abdomen and stuff, in the fight with Ripley? It's just so amazing how he draw. Anytime James Cameron wants like direct some movies, sometimes he'll always draw his own concept. He's a good artist too, with concept art ideas and his visions, and how he brings them life from his artwork to a film. So it's like pretty cool.
Which was obviously inspired by Giger's approach. H.R. Giger, the Swiss artist and designer. And I wanted to continue with that design philosophy, but I wanted to give it certain other characteristics in terms of size and speed and grace and certain feminine characteristics that the alien warrior didn't have. So I just sat down and drew a few different versions of it. And actually the first sort of full sketch that I did of it is pretty remarkably close to what we finally wound up with.
I don't know whether this is a coincidence or not, but it seems to be that in Aliens, you kind of begin the film with dream and you end it with a reference to a dream. You have Ripley, who is terrified and can't get the dream out of her mind, and this is really what is the impetus that gets her to go back to the planet.
Right.
And the tagline of the film is, Newt says, as she's being tucked into her hibernation chamber, "Can I dream now?" Dreaming is the essence of humanity, and I was wondering, is there anything in that for you?
I don't know if it's that comment so much as just a personal thing that I get a lot of imagery from my own dreams, and and I find them to be, a cathartic experience and a good inspiration for imagery and for concepts and situations and so on. And I think that's dreams are a shared experience. It's a way for us
on the
to
dream
all
part right there. It's cool.
leave this plane and explore around a little bit. And that's what movies do as well, especially in the science fiction context. And a film like Aliens is basically just one long bad dream, if you think about it. And you get to wake up at the end and leave the theater. And I think that's it ties into a lot of primal and subconscious fears that are very universal for people. Fears of tight places, fears of the dark, of water, of fire, of high, you name it. It's all, there's a lot of those, sort of Freudian tensions are there in the designs of the creature and the implied threat and all that. It was also a way in this specific film, in Aliens, of unifying the Ripley character and the Newt character. They both have the same nightmare, and that bonds them. It makes them.
And then you watch the third movie, it's not a dream. It won't be like a dream in the opening scene. And suddenly it just ends with a happy ending with the second movie, and then the third movie, everything just goes really bad.
The same person in a way. And watching Aliens is a lot like their experience in the film, which is you're going through this long dark tunnel and you come out at the end and you're going to be okay. They can dream again. Their dream landscape is not going to have these creatures in it from that point onward. It's like the idea that Ripley survived the first time, but she didn't survive mentally. Psychologically, she's a basket case. At the end of this film, I think you feel like not only has she survived physically, but she's out of the woods. She's going to be okay. So it's actually a better ending in that sense.
Huh. Okay. Man, everything in that interview was just pretty amazing. Like the explanatory about the movie and like the reality, like in this was just pretty interesting. Like I really like how he in the story, like why Ripley's like one of my favorite characters in this movie. Like she was awesome in this movie. Like James Cameron, how he explained about like the aspect how Ripley was. She survived, but not mentally, and then suddenly she finally faces off, facing her fear and everything. It was just, that's what made her how Disney made it. James Cameron got this idea for a character. I know Ridley Scott did the character first, but James Cameron, how they made the character more likable, like, for this. And this thing, how he explains about the Queen and everything, how he did his, like, own concept arts for his films, how he brings them into, like, how he visions and stuff. Like this is how we see it sometimes, and then everything about the movie and the reality of this was just done in some points. But if you know what I mean and everything, you don't know, let me know your thoughts, what you guys think of this part of this video and everything. But it was just pretty interesting. So that's gonna be it for today's video, guys. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow all my social medias, comment, share, and this is Mando signing off.